So how do you start the review of a 2017 Nissan GT-R Premium? Quite simply like this. Oh man. Oh, and yes, you are at warp speed before you even realize it. That's the experience of driving a Nissan GT-R. It just slaps you in the chest and rushes you forward into the future or the past, because it really doesn't matter. This is your own personal time machine. Forget DeLoreans. This is where it's at in 2017, the Nissan GT-R. And it's just a laugh. That's all there is to it. It just makes you laugh every time you drive it. Now let's get to the biggest elephant in the room when it comes to this vehicle. That it makes everything feel like a video game, that it takes life away from the experience of driving. It just feels too digital. Well, after a week of living with this thing, I would say it's actually quite the opposite. I would say it enhances life by making it more like a video game within the realm of real life. So it actually kind of seasons life with a nice digital luminescence. It kind of amplifies the driving experience in a way that no other car can right now because of its digital ways. And that makes it very unique. But for 2017, they have refined it a bit more. So it's a bit quieter, it's a bit softer, while still being able-bodied. It just feels more grown up. And as somebody like me who likes a GT car experience, it gives me the entire GT car experience. So in that regard, I can't complain. In the first day I had this car, I was actually trying to find things that I didn't like about it. And it was hard for me to find them, but after a little bit of testing, we found that the cup holder wasn't deep enough. Yeah, I guess Nissan may want to go back to the drawing board with this thing then, because, you know, if the cup holder doesn't work right, I guess the whole car doesn't work right. So there's my review. Okay, and that was the April Fool's portion of my review. But in reality, this car, it's pretty damn near perfect. I mean, I think that after 8 years on the market now in the United States, they finally perfected this vehicle. And I really, really am pleased with my experience with it. Okay, so it's not perfect, but for a GT-R, I think it's as perfect as you're gonna get. Obviously, this is a heavier car, so it doesn't feel like a K-Trim 7, which is like the second favorite car I've ever driven in my life because it only weighs 1,200 pounds. And with the lightness of that car, that's like the template for how all cars should handle. But for something that weighs about 4,000 pounds, this thing's amazing. The way the torque vectoring works and the way this thing just deals with the grip that it has and the way the tires work with the chassis and with the all-wheel drive system. You know, these Dunlop tires, I'm not even gonna say their entire name because it's like 4 words and then 3 acronyms and then 3 other letters after that and then 4 more letters after that. But you can feel that they were custom made for this car. And this car feels like one cohesive, complete package. And that's why I love it. It's just a really complete package. And when you think of other automakers having to come out with a new chassis every 6 or so years to refine the mistakes of the car that came before it. Nissan didn't do that with this. They just kept refining and refining and refining, and they never stopped refining what they had originally drawn up. And even in 2017, a car that came out in Japan in 2008, in the United States in 2009, it still feels cutting edge. Now, I will say, something like the Mercedes-AMG GT-S, that feels like something from the future, but the fact that this car feels like something that is leading edge in 2017, that's such an achievement, and I really have to congratulate Nissan for that. So I just pulled over to do a camera check to see if everything was still in spec, and it turns out the launch control was so violent, it actually made the camera zoom in from 50 millimeters to like 75 millimeters, as you could see, and I couldn't at the time. But that's how violent the acceleration in this car is. You just mash the brake, mash the gas, let off the brake, and it's like the clutches just slap the transmission. Man, it's violent, and I love it! I just love it so much. I'm just smiles from ear to ear driving it. The Nissan GT-R is such a legendary vehicle, and it's not just because of how fast it is, but it's just ferocious on every level. From the way it turns, the way it stops, the way it goes. On every level, it's just such a damn good car. Oh, love it. So right now, I just kissed beautiful leather. Pretty much everything you touch in this car is leather lined. Now, back in 2009 when this car came out, it wasn't like that. So yes, the price of this car has gone up significantly because it started out at around $80 back in 2009, and now it's, as tested, $118,000. So it's a pretty significant jump. However, the quality has jumped significantly too. And originally the car had 485 horsepower. Now it has 565 horsepower and 467 foot-pounds of torque. So we're dealing with a lot of car here, and even though it costs a lot of money, you are getting a lot of car. So I still say that this is a great bang for the buck proposition. Again, this car was originally designed for the 2008-2009 model year, yet the engine feels just as modern as any twin turbocharged engine on the market today. There's very little lag. The delay from off boost to on boost is extremely progressive. It doesn't just snap on. It is a nice build-up of power. And so you pretty much feel like you always have the power, especially after 2,000 RPM, you have what you need, but then after 2,500 RPM, it starts coming on, it squeezes itself on progressively. And that's great for if you're on the racetrack, if you want to squeeze on that throttle a little bit earlier to activate that all-wheel drive grip and really keep the chassis nice and planted and undisturbed by any extreme throttle movements. You just squeeze that throttle on, and you're always going to have that power there. It's not going to be snappy like a 930 Porsche. And that's really cool for an engine that is now more than 10 years old design-wise. So, again, bravo, Nissan. I wasn't expecting to like this car as much. I was thinking, okay, it's a car for its fans, and its fans will like it. It's ferocious, but it's gonna feel like it's doing too much of the work for you. It's not gonna be rewarding. It's just going to feel like a fast appliance. But that's not the case. The way the engine sounds exotic. For a twin-turbo V6 to sound exotic, they are piping in some sound into this interior through the speakers to accentuate the engine note. But if you go through a tunnel and you hear that titanium exhaust reverberate off the concrete of a tunnel, it sounds pretty true to form. So it's not like they're really embellishing anything. It's just kind of amplifying what you would have heard already outside the car. So that's pretty incredible for a twin-turbo V6 to sound so good. So it sounds exotic, and it feels exotic, and it looks premium inside, and they've upgraded it significantly for the 2017 model year, and I just wasn't expecting this, and this is really a pleasant surprise, especially with how solid the chassis feels. I wasn't expecting that. It feels very Germanic, and as somebody who likes German cars, this Japanese car is feeling very German, and after having it for a week, I want one. And I didn't think I'd be saying that, but I really want one. And I probably will own one someday, and that's about the highest endorsement that I can pay to any car. So, there you have it with the 2017 Nissan GT-R. So in the spirit of how I began this video, waking up next to the road and just going out and immediately driving, I'm going to continue driving now until my body will no longer allow it. But they did it. And I forgot where I was going with that.